and welcome back to My Unprofessional Opinion Podcast. I'm your host, Angela. So today, I have my first guest on this podcast. I have my older sister, Marissa, here. That was her putting those like laser things in. That was not me. I did not put that in. That's all on her. So if this sounds bad,
I got excited.
It's not my fault. So today, we're just going to be talking about like our college experiences because I am done. So like, yay.
Lucky butt.
And you still have this amazing privilege to be in school.
Yeah.
So we're just going to talk about that a little bit. So just, introduce yourself, what program you're in, why are you there?
Disclaimer, Angie's program was also 2 years. Mine is technically 4, but I like to be a little different, so I'm throwing a couple extra years in there. But
just to spice it up.
Yeah. No, I'm currently in between my 4th and 5th years of social work. And I chose that because growing up, I was like, I want to work with people, but I don't want to be a teacher.
And so what do you do?
And so, going into my final year of high school, still had no idea what the heck I was going to do. And so I went to one of the university fairs and we went to this one school, had a table, and spoiler alert, didn't go to that school, but that's okay. It's still integral in my story. So we went to this table and, the guy was kind of doing his spiel and he's like, so what program are you interested in? And I'm like, I really don't know. And he kind of got this look and he was looking at me for a minute. Kind of weird, but that's okay. And he was just like, social work is really good if you want to work with people, but you don't want to be a teacher or a nurse or something like that. And I sat there like, this is literally what I have been saying for the last, I don't know how long. So my mind from there was made up. Didn't end up going to that school, but the guy had a good chuckle over how excited I got that I'd have a fridge in my room to store my ranch dressing. And yeah, so didn't end up going to that school, but found out what I wanted to do. So that's kind of important. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into social work.
All right, so the two of us, we have different college experiences. I went to one school for 2 years. You've been at 2 different schools, kind of split up. So, I know when you got into your first school, like right out of high school, you were very excited to get that enrollment envelope or whatever. So
yes.
Why don't you just talk about like what was it about that specific school that you're like, whoa, I want to go to?
It was pretty.
Is that it?
I mean, that was the main thing. No,
it's like who actually needs this school? It's like, it's pretty. Exactly. I want to go there.
Like, I mean, I also had the program that I wanted.
That's kind of important.
Yeah, minor details. No, I was super excited. I'd always, felt curious and intrigued by the East Coast, and that was the one that through my application process of my last year in high school, that was the one that I really, really, really was like, this is where I want to go. And yeah, when I found out I got in, it was like the best day ever, because I'm like, well, my decision's already been made before I had this, and now they want me too, so
it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, I'm going here, and my parents were kind of like, well, don't you want to wait and see? And I'm like, no, this is my school.
This is my dream. Stop taking it away from me.
Exactly. Because, when you're 18, you know everything. And like, this is the perfect place to be. And everything's going to be great. And
you have your whole life figured out,
exactly.
Basically.
I was ready to go. I was like, I don't need to finish high school. I'll just go right now.
It's like, I'm want ready. Me now. It's like, what's going to change?
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, because I remember I was like down in the basement and then you were up here like in the living room or whatever. And I come up the stairs and you're like, the big envelope of happiness is here. And
something like that, yeah.
I don't know if those are your exact words, but it was basically to that extent. And I'm like, oh, okay, you're leaving me. That's cool. Because for your school, that was what, like, it was over 20 hours away, like driving wise, right?
Yeah.
From where we live right now. And I'm just like, cool, you hate me. That's cool. Love that for me.
We made it into a family trip, though, so it was fun.
Road trip.
Ooh. It was a nice road trip, too. It was very, very pretty.
It was.
The Maritimes are beautiful.
All right, so you were down east for a year.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, just kidding, don't like this anymore. Like, what happened? Because now you're out west.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want to explore the whole country or something. I don't know.
I mean, there's that too, but no. So I went there, and, being a sheltered kid from comparably a smaller school, it was a lot. And, at 18, obviously I wanted to be like, well, this is what you do when you're done high school. This is, you go to university right away and all that stuff. But the school was huge. And for those of you who don't know me, I don't do very well in huge groups of people. I don't like huge groups of people. And that was like 95% of my existence was being in huge groups of people. I don't regret going out there, but like, yeah, it was too big. Too much. I was also on a party floor, which was really annoying.
Because both of us, contrary to what some people think, we are not partiers. Like, neither one of us are. That's not like, I mean, you do you, man. But us, we're like, no.
Yeah. So it was a lot. And just, I guess you could say culture shock in that term.
Because you went to how many students was at your school?
It was like, I don't know, a lot.
But like a big school.
Thousands, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then switching over to where you are now.
So I decided to do the only logical thing and go for the smallest school I could possibly find. Which, is great in some ways and also comes with its own cons. But, I've found that I thrive a lot more in a smaller environment for sure. And it was just a better fit overall. So, I did love the city that I was in previously a lot more than the city I live in now. But it was a good fit when I went to the school at West.
So really was your only reason, like, why did you choose there? Was it literally just because it was small? Was that like, I just want a small school, I don't care where it is?
I mean, it's also technically a Christian school as well. Which means that they're a little more strict on certain things that I didn't necessarily enjoy about when I was down east. There's not the same partying or things like that. The values are different. I feel like it's a little more...
like you just fit in more.
Yeah, and they put a little more emphasis on your faith versus just like, okay, yeah, that's what you do in your time, but... we're at school now, so we're not talking about it at all. There's still difficulties with that, I'd say, but in general, where I am now, I think is better fit for me and my learning style.
All right, and now just kind of going off of your two schools, you kind of touched on it already, but what was the biggest adjustment, other than like one being huge, one being tiny? What was like the culture shock, or like what was the biggest difference?
I think... yeah, when I was down east, the big thing was I was 18 and fresh out of high school and had never been away from home really. And so, yeah, just having to take care of myself was a big thing.
But our mom and dad did make us do our own laundry before school.
Yes, so I knew how to do my laundry.
We knew how to do laundry and dishes and stuff like that. But still, like, growing up and learning, like, oh, I need to go to the grocery store now because, like, otherwise, like, when we're at home, we eat with our families. So
yeah, I don't have to worry about any of that. I just get told when to come to the dining room, and it's like, okay, time to eat. But yeah, just time management, I'd say too, just management in general of like myself, my finances, my time, all of which are probably still I'm learning, but...
well, I mean, you're still like young.
Yeah, so like just learning how to be more of an adult, more independent, but also you're kind of in that awkward stage because, in many ways you do still depend on people, whether it's your family or the school for what you need. I remember I had to go to the hospital for the first time by myself. I'm fine. It's okay. But
spoiler, she's not dead.
Yes. But even that, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I know I need my health card. I know where the hospital is, but like,
that's about it.
What do I do? My roommate fortunately came with me, but I was like, I don't know what to do. And that was another thing. Living with someone that you never had met in person was also an adjustment, I'd say. But
yeah, because your roommate selection, like, it was totally random, right?
Yeah. Like, you fill out kind of this generic thing where it's like, you know, do you get up early or stay up late? Are you super messy or super tidy? Are you need complete silence all the time, or you're okay with
no talking at all?
Yeah, that was me. No, I'm kidding. Fortunately, like, my roommate was awesome, but like, yeah, it was just strange when, you know, I was coming from being used to having my own space to having to share my space with someone that I didn't know very well.
A very small space.
Yeah, like, my room, I think, was bigger than some of the other double rooms, but like, yeah. Plus we had a sink. That was fun. But yeah, it was an adjustment, I'd say, for sure. But I was definitely fortunate. We weren't best buddies or anything, but like, we got along really well. Sometimes we'd go for meals together. We'd chat, things like that. So that worked out well, because I don't know how I would have survived everything else if I had a crappy roommate. So shout out to Zoe, you rock. Yeah.
All right. And then how would you compare that when you were out west? Because now you don't have a roommate.
Yes,
but
which is wonderful.
But you've also been away for a few years that you've kind of done the like figuring out process.
Yeah, like, I kind of have a system down, as I think you just automatically get whenever you're somewhere for a long period of time. It's like, okay, I kind of know what to expect. I know different times, like, you can go places, you know. I don't necessarily live in the best area, so it's like, okay, I'm not gonna go out at 11 o'clock at night for a walk, which I don't typically do anyway, but just kind of an example. But yeah, just adjusting to a new place in general for me is something that doesn't necessarily come easily. So having to really make my own friends, having to find my own church, having to take more control over, you know, my school, my social life, like, everything. Because also, when you are away from home and you don't come home really except for Christmas, you do have to take control over a lot more things than I think you do if you still come home every weekend. You know, you have to make sure you are stocked up for groceries. You have to make sure that if you're working, you're finding a job. Whenever it's time to find a job for the summer, I have to take that upon myself. You know, I can't wait until I go home and be like, hey, so this is what I'm thinking, blah, blah, blah. Like, I still text my mom, obviously, because she knows things. But
shout out to you, Mom.
Yeah. But you have to take control over a lot more of your life. And, you know, there's not someone leaning over your shoulder saying, hey, are you done your assignment? It's due, like, coming up. You know, I do have friends for that, but it was, yeah, I think an adjustment, just different. You know, people quickly know who you are, whether you want them to or not. You know, there's not the same level of anonymity that you have at a bigger school. And, you know, I think in a lot of ways that's a good thing. I think for me, it was more of a good thing. But in some ways, it's a bad thing, because say you sleep through class and you run into your professor in the elevator and you guys exchange really awkward eye contact in this confined space, and then you both happen to be going for lunch. That definitely never happened to me.
Of course not, because you always went to class.
Yeah, I'm perfect. But yeah, just adjusting in that way, I think both were adjustments for sure, even though for the one I'm at now, I have been away from home for quite a while. But there's still adjustments because there's constantly new people coming in, and it's a struggle living with all kinds of people, some more than others. But I think both experiences in that way taught me a lot, so I don't look back on either with negativity, I'd say.
And so one thing you kind of touched on was the friends aspect, especially, you move to a new city, you move to a new province, and, you don't know anybody. So, like, how do you, like, what's your biggest tip to meet friends, stay, like, close with friends? Because I know a lot of times, if you have this class with Sarah or whoever, then it's like, but the class is over, then it's like, oh, bye, never gonna see you again. So what do you think is your biggest tip for getting but then maintaining friendships?
I think finding something outside of just whatever class you have. So, both times I kind of made friends differently. I think for sure residence is also a really good place to meet people.
Because we're kind of stuck with those
people. Exactly. You might as well at least form alliances. But no, both times I kind of made friends differently. When I was down east, I made friends with a girl because we got partnered up for a group assignment. We were in a smaller class. So it was like, okay, you kind of find your group. And so we were talking, of course, the basic stuff, like what are you in, like what program, all that stuff. She told me and I'm like, oh, my sister likes to sew. She's getting taught by a lady from church, and she kind of latched on like, church, you're a Christian. And then you kind of get bonded together that way. And we found like Bible study together and all that. And we kind of were able to kind of maintain that. Definitely having classes together helps a lot because a lot of your life in college, whether you want it to or not, revolves around school. So when you have classes with people, it's good. Typically, it also means you do have similar interests, unless it's those core classes that you just have to get over with, in which case you're bonded together by the mutual suffering through whatever class this may be. And yeah, just finding something outside of the class or whatever. If you don't have something outside of the class, then, maybe don't invest as much into this person because your time is limited. You want to find people that you really do connect with. Not to say you just completely shut them out or anything like that, but finding people who have similar interests, similar goals is really good, but also not limiting yourself. Find people that maybe they say something and you're like, you're completely on the other end of the spectrum that I am. But I think having that dissonance in relationships as well, maybe you're not necessarily the closest, but having that different perspective in your friendships is also good, because that's how life is. You're not going to agree with everyone on everything. And even when you have kind of the same general interests or ideas or worldview or whatever, there are still things that you disagree on. And having that is good because it challenges you, it grows you.
Because like you said, you're not going to agree with everyone. But you have to make sure that you know how to deal with those people. Yeah. Because it's like, you can get by with like disagreeing on some things because it's like maybe you only see this person for like 10 minutes or whatever, and then they like piece out of your life. But then if they're like someone that you're like, oh, they're like my best bud, they're my homie, you know what I mean? But then they're like on the one side, you're like way on the other side about who knows what, like just some random topic, but something that obviously is some meaning. If you can't like work it out and just like learn how to discuss it,
that's not going to serve you well in life. And yeah, like not limiting yourself to just people who think the same, but also not limiting yourself to just people who go to your school. Like,
because then you're going to go crazy. And I can say that is true.
Girl, I live with the same 40 people every year. If I didn't get out and meet people other places, I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't have made it this far. Yeah, like, I do love the people I live with. Not saying that, especially because if I post this, some of them might listen to this. So I disclaimer, I love you guys, but y'all drive me crazy. And so, yeah, like getting out, whether it's, if you're into going out and meeting new people at a club, do it safely. Don't be stupid. Make sure you're over the age that you're supposed to be. For me, I got involved at my church and I made some really good friends that way. And And that's been really helpful because, you're meeting people that have at least that same foundation of something that's very, very important to you. And
like I can kind of go off of that as well. Because like out of the 2 years that I was in school, because mine was only 2-year program.
Yeah.
The first year, awful for like my social life. Like I was so miserable because it's like literally all I did was school. That's all I did. I was like literally I don't know what word to describe it, but like I had no life. I had no social life. Like I would talk to my friends in class, but then they all like just went home after. So I'm like, okay, I'm not from here. I don't know anything about this city really. And anyways, but then the second year, once I was like, okay, we're not doing that again because that was awful. I'm not putting myself through that. And then I got connected to my church as well and made like a bunch of friends and I would say from college, those are my closest friends. And they weren't even from college. They were from just my time there. But like there's still people that I talk to.
Yeah. And I think you kind of also touched on something else that is important in meeting people, but also maintaining some level of sanity. Get out and see the city that you're living in, especially if you're not from there. There's so much to see. There's so much to do in different places. Like, even kind of boring cities, quote unquote, or cities that maybe you kind of hate. Like I said earlier, I'm not a huge fan of the city I'm in right now, but there's still so much to do.
Yeah, you live in a big city, so it's not like there's nothing.
Oh, it's never boring. Just get out, experience the city that you're in. Obviously be safe about it, but getting to see your city because you're not from there, so you may just need to kind of jump in a little bit more
and just really force yourself.
Yeah, whether that's finding a coffee shop or a mall that you really like going to, or a park or things like that. Different sporting events. That was a big thing when I was down east. I liked going to the hockey games there. But don't limit yourself to your school, because it starts to feel really suffocating if you're just in the same places all the time, especially when you're also living at that school. It's hard to maintain a level of sanity when you're stuck in the same spot 24/7.
Yeah, and I know, like, for me, this might sound kind of stupid, but, like, I had to, like, hype myself up. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to, like, Tim Hortons or something, and I'm going to get a hot chocolate or whatever just to, like, get out, because I was, like, literally going crazy, and I'm like, I hate this place, but I'm always stuck here.
Yeah, and I think, living at your school has so many benefits, but it also adds that level of you need to leave, because you are going to go insane and you're going to hate everyone here if you don't. So I would say definitely leave.
Leave, just go.
Even I don't necessarily live in the nicest area in the nicest city, and it's flipping cold all the time, but
you like that.
I prefer the cold to the heat for sure. But, even on those days where it's minus 40, if I've been inside for 2 weeks, I'm going to be like, I'm going crazy. I need to get out of here. And I'll walk and bus to like the movies or something like that. But get out of your school.
All right. And now with your however many years of college experience,
many moons,
what... if you could change one thing about it, and don't say nothing, because there's obviously something you want to change.
Yeah. Well,
what would that be?
I'm perfect. I wouldn't change anything. No.
Yeah, right.
I think I would have probably taken an extra year before going to university. Of course, when you're 18, like I said, you think you know everything and you've got it all figured out. You're ready to go. This is what you do. I definitely was not ready. So I definitely would have probably taken an extra year. I don't know how that would have changed things, but probably that would have been a good idea. But also just, I get excited very, very easily. And so that was the school I knew. I was like, this is where I'm going. Which in some ways is good. But I think just being more open and actually looking more in depth at, like, you know, will I actually thrive at a school this size? Will I, you know, be able to survive in this city? Fortunately, the second time around when I was doing university, it worked out. But I probably would have changed not going in right away, being a little more critical and logical, rather than just getting excited and being like, this is where I'm going. I'm not considering anything else. Goodbye. Just being more prepared.
And now, you know, to bring back some positivity, what was your favorite part about your college up to this point?
There have been a lot of memories with the people that I've met and the friends I've made, for sure. You know, I've gotten to also see different parts of Canada. And that's also something that I really, really love, is getting to see my country, getting to live in different places. And yeah, so for example, the city where I was only for a year, that's now the city that I know I want to get back to, and that's where I want to live.
Grow
long-term.
old.
Yeah. You know, that's where I want to end up, I'd say. So, you know, even though it didn't work out in terms of school there, there's still so many positives that came out of it. The school I'm at now, I know that I don't want to live there long term. If it happens, it happens. It definitely has grown on me. But I think my favorite part there has actually been, you know, I'm making my own life out there. You know, I'm building my own connections. I'm getting more invested in my own interests and institutions, and
you're just
really
building a community.
Yeah, I'm kind of setting down roots. I consider out there more of a home than I think I do my hometown.
All right, let me just wipe away my tears right now.
Just because, you know, that's like where the most consistent place I'm living right now. I have my church out there. I have my friends out there. I have a lot of my stuff out there. Just really building my life out there has been really, really nice. Even though it's cold and miserable, but it's grown on me. And I think that's where I'm meant to be right now. And, you know, I'm kind of happy about it.
So one thing you said, you think you're meant to be there right now.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, for like people that are graduating high school or like figuring out a next step, do you think there's like one place that you're meant to be and you're like, if you go anywhere?
No, I don't think there's one. I think for some people maybe, but I don't think it's like, if you do not go to this city, to this school, and meet these people, your life is going to be a train wreck and you're going to die. I think that, you know what, there's so much out there. For some, maybe there is that one place. I don't think it's necessarily going to end in a train wreck if you don't, but that's beside the fact. But there's so much out there. I think, you know, you learn something, you meet people anywhere you go, whether it's where you're quote unquote meant to be or not. And I think especially in the church culture that is kind of been pressed on a lot of us, you know, you have that, oh, this is the place that I'm meant to be, this is the person I'm meant to meet, like blah blah blah, all that stuff. And I think that's a load of baloney, honestly. I don't think that we are created to be in cages. I don't think we're created to just constantly be checking things off a list, which for me is very difficult because I like to have a list and know exactly I'm doing the right thing and all those things. But regardless of where you go, you're going to learn things, you're going to meet people, and that's really kind of what life is learning things and meeting people. And, you know, maybe you'll end up there forever. Maybe you'll end up meeting people that are meant to be in your life forever. But maybe you won't. And that's okay. I don't think you should put a whole lot of pressure on yourself for that. I do think you should be critical and be like, you know, I really don't feel like this is where I'm supposed to go. Don't go there. But I don't think you need to put on all that pressure that it seems like has been traditionally put on young people, because you're 18. Spoiler alert, if you haven't learned anything from my story, you don't know everything. So you're going to make mistakes. But regardless, again, you know, I didn't end up staying there, at least right now, but I ended up learning a lot there. And
you know that's where you want to go.
Exactly. So even if you quote unquote screw up, don't beat yourself up over it. You're young. You don't know everything. Okay? Like, chill.
And something you kind of touched on earlier, you know, you said your first school wasn't like the school for you, whatever you want to say, but you love the city. So, I mean, that's probably part of it, but where do you see yourself in the future? Where do you see yourself, like, when you've graduated, what do you think your life will look like?
Definitely, I'll be staying where I am probably for a couple years, unless something comes up back east. But long term, I do want to end up back on the East Coast, whether it's directly where I was when I lived there or near it. I just loved it so much. I met so many beautiful people. It's a beautiful city, beautiful. The Maritimes in general are beautiful. And so that one for sure. Working in a job.
You know what you're going to college for?
Yeah, that would be nice, because by the end of this, I'll have been in school for 6 years and accrued quite a bit of student debt. Not as much as some people, fortunately. I am very fortunate, but yeah, working would be nice so that I can get rid of that student debt. But yeah, long term, the one thing I know for sure, because a lot is uncertain, is that I do want to end up back east. That's where I want to live. And that's been the case since I lived there. So, you know, I don't know much like what exactly kind of job I want to do. I don't know, you know, what my life is going to look like, but I do know that that's where I want to end up.
You just know that you want to help people. You don't want to be a teacher or a nurse. So like
exactly.
that's pretty simple, right?
Yeah, I don't think people want me teaching their children or giving them needles. So that's probably good self-discernment on my part.
And now to just kind of wrap this all up, for the people that are listening, what would you say are your biggest like takeaways from your college experience, your biggest tips that you would give to like someone who's just about to enter this whole college scene?
Yeah, I think kind of a lot of what we talked about, or I rambled about, is more like it. You know, school is obviously going to be your biggest priority, so make it a priority, but don't let it consume your life. Get out of your school, especially if you're like me and you live in and you live in the same building that you eat in and have classes in. You know, get out of the building, get out of your school. You will go crazy, but don't completely leave wherever you are. Like, making a life wherever you are, like, you know, meet the people you're living with. Maybe you like them, maybe you won't. That's okay. That's how life goes.
You're still gonna have to do laundry right beside them.
Exactly.
So you better like them.
That's another thing. Do your laundry. And preferably not once a month, so you take up all 4 washers. It's fine.
Latino shade.
I know people who do that. But yeah, just really try and love where you're at, even if you're not in the city you want to be in, if you're not with the people you want to be with. You know, you're there for school, but try and love where you are. Get out of your school, explore. Find that place that you like to go to get away from everything else. For me, I like going to the movies because I can just sit there for 2 hours and turn my brain off. And I'm not responsible for getting back to people or whatever. So that's a big thing for me, at least. Finding things outside of school to get involved in. For me, that was getting involved in my church. So I go to a young adults Bible study and I help out also with the kids.
But maybe you like love sports, or you love art, or you love theater. Like, just like find your niche.
Yeah. And roll with it. I'd also say take advantage of free things.
Student discounts.
Yeah, student discounts is also a big thing. Because unless you're like super rich for whatever reason and all your money wasn't taken up by paying for tuition, you're gonna have no money. So whenever there's like a free event or whatever, that's another great way to meet people. If there's like, say my school, for example, sponsors free hockey games. So we'll go to a hockey game and it's free instead of like $45. And that's just a fun thing to get out, hang out with friends, doing something that, whether you like it or not, it's just something different. Yeah, take advantage of those free/cheap things. And I think most importantly, just take time for yourself. You know, don't constantly be going school. And, well, I guess unless you're an extrovert, don't just constantly be with people and have to be with people. And unless that's how you get your energy, in which case, props to you. I am not that person. Because, you know, yeah, you're there for school, and if you're getting drained out by constantly doing things or being with people, you're not going to be able to focus on school. So I would say definitely take time for yourself, doing whatever it is you do, whether it's going out and doing something or staying in and watching 7 movies in a row, which isn't usually healthy. So I don't recommend doing that all the time. You know, at least get up and shower. Yeah, that's another thing. Please shower. We'll all appreciate it. You will too. And with that, I think that's my last best tip is shower.
All right. And with that, thank you, Marissa, for coming on, for sitting down and chatting with me for the last too long.
Finger guns.
And with that, that has been another episode of My Unprofessional Opinion Podcast. I've been your host, Angela, and
I've been your guest, Marissa.
Okay. Anyways, so yeah, if you liked this episode, just make sure you give it a thumbs up, you subscribe to my channel, and you come back next time for more. Bye, folks.
Bye.